Hey everybody, welcome to Art 13131 once again, and we are in week 4 now. So as a friendly reminder, if you haven't gotten all your work done or a first attempt submitted from the first 2 weeks, you should do that because it's going to get miserable to try to catch up. Believe me, I've seen it, and it's very difficult to catch up if you're several weeks behind in your first attempt, because typically I'll ask you to do more work on that drawing with good suggestions to make it better. And then that is enabling you to get a better grade on that. Typically first attempts, if they're reasonable, are but not completely without improvement possibilities, then they usually achieve a C grade. To obtain the B and A, you need to do a little more work to them and develop your skill. Within reason, of course, this is a beginning class, but I want to see that effort. I want to see something pushing toward the better grade as far as developing skill and your ability to draw with suggestions, okay? And they're all based around beginners, but there's work to be done along the line. Your first attempt is your first attempt. Second, third attempt could get you a better grade. Okay, so get those to me from the first 2 weeks for sure, and then of course on and keep up. All right, so we're going to talk about assignment number 10, which is a profile portrait from an image. So you're going to be looking at an image. It might be a photo you took of yourself or a friend, family, on a profile, which is a side view. Profile is a side view of the face, okay, of the head, the face. You want the whole head, not just the face, but yeah. So this is what you're after, and I'm going to show you some images of that, and I'm also going to provide a video that will kind of step by step go through mapping out how to get the correct proportions. But keep your image of what you're drawing from. I call it the model. So keep your model. Keep an image of the model available so that you can submit that to me. In fact, it might be a good idea just to submit it straight away with your first attempt. Unless you think your skills are really very good, and then I probably won't ask you to do more to it. Then I don't need to compare it to something. But when I see low contrast or the proportions are incorrect, like the forehead's too big or the jaw's too stuck out or the nose, something odd about it, I want to see the image to see what you were drawing from, what model that was, so I can compare and give you suggestions to change it. Now, you can send an image before you think it's completed and ask me, am I on the right track here? Okay. And I can give early warning to, okay, look at this, look at that, and change this, change that. Or just go ahead and send it to me and we can change things along the way. And which will possibly require erasing out. So, it's good to send an early attempt. Maybe I ask for a little more contrast at the end of it if your proportions are good. That may be a good way to approach it. Now, several students send me something that is quite acceptable right away, straight away. Those students usually have a little more drawing skill than just nothing, or you haven't never drawn, or you have very, very, very little. So you might want to send a first attempt and ask questions about it so I can give suggestions and then finish it up. So either way you want to work it. Let's look at some profile images. This is from Bing. Profile is side of the face. Not this. This is a 3/4 view. We're going to do that later. This is a full-faced view, straight on. We're going to do that later as well. But right now we're working on the profile, which is a side view, side view, side view, side view, okay? And I'm showing the difference here so you recognize what it is. This is considered a 3/4 because I can see the other eye right there, at least the eyelash. This head is slightly tilted toward you. It's not completely profile like this one or this one. So, yeah, that looked a little weird. There we go. So what we're going to look at is the shape of the head from the side. Typically, without the nose and mouth and right in through here, it's kind of like an egg shape on its tilted a little bit on its side. So here you got a roundish back head coming around to the front chin and then back up again. Then you're going to add the nose, the mouth, and come up the jawbone into the ear right here. And then the back of the head's going to continue around here. Now I'm going to show you a couple of templates. Let me find a good one. This one's pretty good. So, I mean, you could start this way. The video I show on this will show you other ways to do it, I think, or maybe they go with this. I'm not sure which one I'll use, but some just start right away with sort of an egg shape. Now, if you look right here, if you continued on here and came around and came down to this, it's kind of like an egg shape. Okay. You can draw the circle. You can put the middle here where the eye is. It's not actually in the middle because this circle ends by the bottom of the ear. Then they drew the rest of the face shape here without the nose and mouth added. You see how that came straight down, chin, and then hooked up to where the ear is. The jawbone, the jawline, goes right up to the bottom of the ear right there. And then the back of the head sort of continues around back here. Okay? But you can roughly sketch out a gesture drawing of an egg shape on its side and get that as well. Now you're going to be looking at your model. And then you're thinking of the egg shape. And then you're thinking of shape of the head. And then map it out. Of course, the top of the head and around the forehead is all very round. It's almost consistently round. Then it comes to this part where you have the jawbone in front. The nose does stick out from that area, and the mouth and the lips, the upper and bottom lip will protrude slightly. And then you have a little tuck in right here where the chin comes out and then in. Okay? Mainly you want to be looking at your model and really noticing all this and sketch it out and adjust your drawing very lightly so that you can check yourself. And you can check back and forth on how big that nose really is, where the mouth is, and back and forth, okay? Typically, the eye is in the middle of the head. If you measure from the top of the head, which is way up here, to about here to the bottom of the chin, it's basically in the middle of the head. Now, if you cut off, and this is something that students do all the time, they'll send me a drawing and they cut off the forehead like this. It's like, boom, it's not tall enough. And I look at their model and it's like, no, you measure it. It's not tall enough there. Don't cut off the forehead. Measure that you need the eye to be basically in the middle of the head. Maybe it's slightly above the middle, but not by much. Okay? The other thing is the eye is not like a big oval right here. It's kind of like a triangle with the front kind of rounded right there where the eyeball is. But the side meeting the top meeting the side meeting the bottom, that's kind of like a triangle. Okay? It's not an oval shape where this is all rounded back in here. It isn't. This meets up at a point right there. Top of the ear meets up where that eye is. Bottom of the ear meets up basically where the bottom of the nose is, maybe a little slightly further than that. You see that? So don't put the ear way up here or way down here. And it's on the back side of the halfway mark. You see this halfway mark coming down here? And the top of the eye right here, that's where the ear is, right in that corner. Okay? Halfway mark. So don't put it way up here. Don't put it way back here. Don't put it way up here. That's your corner where you want it. Right there, where the eye comes across and the halfway mark. Right there. That's where you want it. Okay. Once you get that down, you're going to start shading in all the darks and lights. Where the eye is, where the nose is, where the ear is, where the mouth is. Then you start to shade all those light and dark areas, okay? The head could be tilted up slightly or tilted down. I don't really mind either way. There's going to be lights and darks wherever you look. Now, this one doesn't have much light or dark area on the face. I would suggest setting up your light so it's coming from one direction to the other, where you create some shadow areas and light areas to the face so that you can shade in light and dark areas. This is going to give you the chance to show shape in your face. Okay? Anytime you see contrast where you can shade in light and dark areas, that's going to give you the shape better. Let's look at Google. This is Google Images. Okay? Lots of lights and darks here. Typically, okay, you have the light kind of maybe coming in from the left front, but here's a little darker where the face turns right here. It's rounded right there. So on the other side of the cheekbone, going back to the ear, it's away from the light slightly. You want to create that in your image or find an image you're working from that is going to be like that. And this is what you're going to send me, is that kind of an image. A lot of time the cheek and the tip of the nose and forehead and chin, right here, the front of the chin, is pretty lit up. That's where the light is catching. And the lip will have different shading on it too. You're going to have light and dark areas on the lips. Certainly do not put a borderline around the front of the face, on the lips, and right in the nostril here. Use shading. Shading marks are a little more broad, okay? Like this one is using the background being darkened up slightly to show the definition of the border of the face without a line, okay? You're not showing a line there. You're not going to look at your face. It doesn't have lines like this, okay? It doesn't have a line drawn on it like that. So don't draw it in real life. Or lines around the ear and stuff like that. It's shading that meets other shading. There's no lines there, okay? Look at your face and look at the model you're looking at, whatever it is, whoever it is. Make sure you take a photo of it and have that available to send to me. There's no lines on it. There's no line around this guy's face. It's shading that met the background shading. That shading met this, and that defines where that border is. Same with the lips. There's no line around the lips. Ears have perceived sort of areas that may be looking like a shading line, which is broader. It's not like a writing line. They're thin, but they're still shading, okay? These are things to look for. Lots of highlights on this, on the nose, the cheek, the forehead, the lip, the philtrum, I think it's called, right there. That little dip-in part on below the nose and the mouth, between the nose and the mouth. And a little bit there. And then this has a bunch of midtones. This is not all one tone. There's dark, light, darker, lighter, but they're not as light as the highlights. So they're all midtones. very darkest areas here, maybe right there on the eye, inside the ear, the back of that bottom lip. Okay, those are the very darkest areas. So you have a lot of levels. Now in the hair, you can put tone in and then erase out the highlights very thinly, like cut a piece of your eraser so you have a very thin edge to it. Or get an ejecting pin eraser. They have them. You can eject a pointed pin kind of eraser out the end of it. They're great for this. So you may want to just tone up all the hair and then start erasing out highlight areas showing the strands. And then adding some maybe shading lines in there where the darker area is. Okay? And I know they put a little line there, but they actually didn't need it. They didn't need that. They could have just worked with the shading of this, which is lighter than that. So your background's going to be either lighter or darker than your subject. So like this one's darker, this one's lighter, and it has a little color in it, but let's not work with color. Let's work with graphite for now, which is just the grays and the, very dark gray, almost black, or very light, almost white as paper, but typically the skin is not white as paper. Nobody's skin is white as paper. It may be very light, but it isn't white as paper. So you may have light areas and very highlighted areas that are going to be almost as light as the paper. And maybe there's a little bit that might be because it's so lit up. But most of it is not, okay? So please don't draw it like that. Don't send me something like this where this is all unshaded except for maybe right here. This is very unshaded. You may need to shade that if that's your model and it was unshaded, but find something, whether it's on here or somewhere else or a photo you took of yourself or someone else, find the light source that is going to provide lights and darks in all the midtones, because that's going to give you the shape of the face. So you're going to get a lot of shape. Here's a cast shadow on the neck, so look for the cast shadows. The light seems to be coming from the top left here, maybe the side top left. So it's lighting up areas. The glasses here have a shadow, cast shadow there. Look at all that. Really notice the lights and darks. Notice how much contrast you're creating with your light source. You may want to create more because something like this has very little shape. It has a little bit of shading here and here and around the nose, right here maybe, but all this is like void of any tone when it could have some light midtones back in here showing the roundness and then a lit up cheek and back and forth. And this could be more emphasized there as well. It depends on the lighting you're putting in. Okay. This does have some right here and very lit up here. So this is a pretty acceptable. It does have some shape, even though the face is kind of light. But try to create that shape. Sometimes these darker ones are better because they're creating a lot of shape. Okay, so watch the video that's going to demonstrate this. It's going to start off with gesture drawing. It's going to start off with the shape of the head and then start adding the nose and lips and the jawbone going up to the ear, where the ear is, where the eye is placed, which is certainly back from the nose bridge, right? It's not right on the nose bridge. Look for that. Look for where that eye is placed. In a profile, it's going to be back from the nose bridge. So you got the bridge of the nose here, you got the eye back here. Okay? Okay, look for all those and then also watch the video. You don't have to do what the video is, but if you want to use that as your template, then tell me that's what you did, and I'll look at that. Or you want to find an image here, or you want to take an image of yourself, side view, with a good light source, creating a lot of contrast. I would consider this a profile, even though I don't really see the other eye. If you can't see the other eye, then it's a profile. It is slightly turned, but not by much. but there's a lot of contrast in here. Light and darks. Look for them. They're very subtle sometimes, but they're there. You want to smoothly shade those in with your pencil. The side of the pencil with a broad tip of graphite. Maybe you're using a total graphite pencil, which is even better. And you want to use the side with the overhand grip for shading, like you learned in the first videos of shading, and use something to smudge your graphite. A smudging tool, a rag over your finger will work, a Q-tip, or an actual smudging tool. You can buy those. They're like a wrapped up, really tightly wound paper with a tip on it, and it smudges your graphite and helps you smooth out the graphite. So there's gradual transitions from very light areas to darker areas to lighter areas without a sudden change or scratchy marks. You want no scratchy marks because there's no scratchy marks on the face, on the skin. It's very smooth. There's no texture like scratchy stuff. You don't want to create that with your pencil. You want smooth shading, and that is created by the side of the, getting a broad tip, not the tip of the pencil like writing. You want the side of the pencil, the most broad area for shading with graphite. And then you're going to smudge that or smooth it out with a rag or your finger or a Q-tip or a smudging tool. Okay? Okay, so look for all that. Have an image ready to send me if I want it, or send it straight away. And watch the video. I'll talk with you on Wednesday.